Hey everybody, Mrs. DeVita here with your next tutorial. You're going to be using the three-dimensional shapes that you made in the one-point perspective video, and I'm going to teach you how to shade using those. If you wrote inside of them like I did, erase those so that you have some nice clean shapes to work with. The first thing I'm going to do is decide where my light source is coming from, so I'm going to choose that the light source is coming from the top left corner of the page. Based on that, I'm going to start shading all of the sides of the shapes that are on the right side of the page. So as you can see with this hexagon, I'm shading the right side of the hexagon fairly dark because the light is coming from the top left corner. So the shadow is going to fall on the right side of the shape. Now every part of the shape needs to be shaded in. So the top part, which is closest to the light, will be shaded in, but very lightly, just to represent that it does have some sort of color. When you get to the front of the shape, or the face of the shape, you're going to start in the corner that is farthest away from your light source. So in this case, mine is in the bottom right corner, and that is the corner that's going to be the darkest. Then I shade it lighter as it goes up towards the top left corner, or closer to the light source. I also like to shade it with my fingers. You can use a tissue if you don't want to get your fingers dirty, but this helps smooth out all the lines and make your shading look really nice. Now I'm going back to darken up the areas. I started drawing really lightly because it's really difficult to erase dark pencil lines. So start light and then go back over it and make it slightly darker a second time, and you can keep doing this as much as you need to until it's really dark. I do not recommend starting dark because it's way easier to mess up that way. Next, I'm going to shade this cylinder. I'm going to start in the back, and the back will be the darkest part, and it's going to get lighter as we get closer. This is because even though the light source is in the top left corner, I still assume that it's closer to us and the shadows are going to be farther away from us. You can see that I'm going back and forth in a curve here. This makes it look more three-dimensional. If you don't curve your lines and you just do straight lines, it's not going to look like a three-dimensional shape. And notice that I do this with my finger as well. I curve the finger so that when I'm blending it together, it's still staying in that arc to follow the circle. This is true for the flat circle on the face of the cylinder as well. You have to keep your lines curved going around the circle or it won't look very realistic. So as you can see, I'm now drawing around the outside edges of the circle, keeping curved lines. So I'm not doing the same thing that I did for the hexagon. I'm curving it. Hopefully you can see here that I'm making the bottom right of the circle the darkest part of the circle, and the top left will be the lightest part of the circle because again, that is the part that is closest to our light source. And to show that after you've blended it in with your finger, you can just take your eraser and erase some of the lighter areas to show where the shine actually is. Frequently, I go back and forth many times between blending with my finger erasing, blending with my finger erasing, and I do that until I'm happy with how it looks. Now I'm going to move on to some of the other shapes. And I'll stop talking in your ear, you can just watch and just pay close attention to where the darkness is, where the lightness is, and watch how I start really lightly and then darken it as I go. So once you get to the shapes that are closer to the light source, it becomes a little bit more difficult to decide what should be dark and what should be light. Anything where you can see the bottom, like this shape above the horizon line, you definitely want to make the bottom dark. And then anything that is closer to the left side of the page will be lighter. But it won't necessarily be the top left corner, because now that everything is closer to the light source, it'll just be whatever is on that side. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not basing this off of real life. We're just sort of making it up and trying to make everything look 3D. So your assignment is to shade all 6 of your shapes with a dark, a medium, and a light area. We should be able to see at least 3 different shades for this to be as effective as possible. If you have colored pencils at home, you can also use colored pencils instead of regular pencils. I made this final project for myself with Sharpie outlines, and then I just shaded with colored pencil instead of regular pencil and made each shape a different color. This makes it a little bit more fun. So go ahead, color it however you want, as long as I see a dark, a medium, and a light part of each shape to show that it has 3 dimensions to it. That is the goal for this assignment. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your week.